Welcome to Waffles Friends Work, a values-driven leadership and personal development podcast. I'm Kara.
And I'm Jency. We hope you find this podcast both thought-provoking and entertaining as we cover how we all show up for ourselves, in our relationships, and at work.
Since we're only moderately obsessed with shows like Parks and Recreation and Brooklyn Nine-Nine,
And can't stop reading material from Brene Brown and Adam Grant.
you'll get a mix of approaches to thinking about and becoming the person you want to be.
Yeah, that's enough. Let's do it. Hey everybody, welcome to Waffles Friends Work. We have completely gone off the rails on our season 2. It was supposed to be about boundaries. We're just going to talk about whatever we feel like, probably from now until whenever we're done talking about things. Though I do think that today's topic fits into boundaries. It's just a very specific call out. And what we want to talk today about is this false urgency that is put onto us and that we have internally for some reason. And I have noticed actually, as we were talking about recording this, we were talking specifically about work, and we will get into that. But I have been thinking about it myself. Like, I will just be in a hurry. Like, I'll be in a hurry to get in the car and do the things, and I'm dropping things and I'm throwing things, and I'm like all in this like tizzy, and I'm like, what? Why am I? What in the heck? Like, why is that our default setting?
No, really. And like, especially in the car, like you said, you're like in a hurry to get in the car. And then there's something immediately that triggers in my brain as soon as I'm behind the steering wheel that I'm like, everyone's so slow. Why is everyone so slow? So I'm not even in a hurry to get where I'm going, but because I'm in the car, I'm like, I got to get there as fast. Like, what? Anyway, yes.
Yeah, or at the grocery store. Like, I was at Costco last night to just pick up a prescription, and I'm like running through the store like I, am on whatever that grocery shopping game show was. And like, I literally have nowhere else to be. I mean, I don't want to be in Costco all night, obviously. But
I was going to say, actually, that feels like a good strategy to me, because if you're in Costco any longer than you need to be, you will spend $300. Well, so that's like a good tactic.
Just like to the pharmacy.
Just blinders. Yep. Good. Yep.
I didn't. I mean, I bought strawberries because we bought some this weekend. They were so good. They were the best grocery store strawberries I've ever had. Uh-huh. And so I was in there anyway. I was like, I'm going to buy it.
In February?
Yeah, they were so good. Welcome to California.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. We had strawberries the other day and they were.
Yeah, they can be really disappointing. Enough about strawberries. Enough about rushing at the grocery store. Though I would I don't know, it might be a good personal exercise to just like breathe and be like, is this really like, what is the result? Like, what is the worst possible scenario if I'm late to whatever I'm doing? Or if this, like, I think as moms too, we like, hurry in the bathroom, hurry in the shower. Everything's in a hurry. And it's like, what if you just didn't hurry as fast?
Yeah. So as we've been talking about this idea of urgency, and Jency and I talk a lot about false urgency, and maybe even giving it that label is a good place to start with all of this. We're kind of thinking about two things. We want to talk a little bit about how we can retrain our own brains and how we respond with false urgency, or we put it on ourselves to move faster than we need to. And then we're going to talk a little bit about how we can kind of respond to people who have not done the work or don't see things the way we see things.
About whether or not it's actually urgent. And I also thought about how can you make sure that you're a person that isn't putting that false urgency on other people? Because I have been in several situations where the words that come out of their mouth are, this isn't a huge deal. None of us are doing brain surgery, but their actions do not match. And so you still get that urgency. There's a lot here.
Yeah, there is. And I could soapbox about this for a hot minute. So if I get preachy, just tell me, calm down. Let's talk first about how much we've put on ourselves. How much of the false urgency are we actually making up? What's a good way to phrase this, right? Like, for me, the Slack ping notification or the Teams notification like activates fight or flight. Like, I'm like, okay, I gotta act. I gotta move really quickly. And something I've had to like actively do is like realize is like, if I send a Slack, I don't expect someone to respond to me that second. So why am I holding myself to the standard of I have to respond immediately? Not only respond, but I feel like I have to have solved the problem that they're asking me about. So like not even like, hey, yeah, great question. Let me look into that. It's like, hey, great question. I looked into that. I've solved this problem. It's already uploaded here. All the things. Like,
well, I think this definitely goes back to our boundaries episode about work, and also talking about how you feel valued as a person. These are all personal reactions to be the people pleaser, the solver. if I fix this, then I have value and worth as a human being because
Yes,
I
am
have fixed
seen
this
as
thing.
helpful. I'm seen as responsive. I'm seen as smart and capable and contributing or whatever.
Yeah. Yes. And then this is another place where I'd say, you're not that important.
You're not, and you don't want to be. You don't
Yeah.
actually want to be.
It's so
it feels
true.
really good until it doesn't anymore.
Until
And
you're
then
like, "I've had
all of
it.
a
I've
sudden
had
you've
it."
become important and everybody needs your attention and you're in 75 meetings every week and you like it's just not worth it. It's
No.
just not worth it.
No.
So what do we do about that? What can we kind of like how do we retrain our reactions to slow it down a
Yeah.
little bit?
And this is where I would get into my little woo-woo space and back up a little bit because I think what this really is about is managing your own nervous system. Like you said, it triggers this fight or flight. Okay, a Slack message should not trigger your fight or flight. And I get
maybe
it.
that was dramatic, but you know what I'm trying.
But
I've never exaggerated
sometimes
anything.
you do. Or like you read an email and it just like your blood pressure goes up and you just are like, I've got to fix this right now. And so I think some of that is doing some of your own work on regulating your own nervous system and getting to a place where those things don't have that impact on you. And then my other super sneaky hack for that is turning off all of your notifications so that that doesn't happen and your nervous system doesn't get hijacked. Like when I was going through my divorce, I filtered emails from my ex into a folder where I would go in there on purpose to read them. Same thing for your general email, same thing for your Slack.
Oh, that's a great
like
idea.
Turn it all off and do it when you have space and time instead of, you're at the doctor with your kid and your Slack dings and then you're reading this thing, it's stressing you out and then you're not paying attention to the doctor, and it ends up it's not even that big of a deal, but like it all triggers these things. So set those boundaries and then also like do some yoga or breathing or something to get to the point where you have kind of regulated your own nervous system to the point where you don't react like that.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I feel like I've made really good progress on, and part of it is definitely the boundaries that we talked about in our work and at work episode about like how much I'm investing my like I don't want to say like energy, care, passion, because I do care about my job, I care about my work, but like I've put in some boundaries around like how invested I am in how people see me. Like it's like I know that I'm doing the work that I need to get done and I'm getting it done, and that's more important to me than how so and so in operations sees me. Like I don't know that person. Like I don't owe that person, like anyway.
It's about, we have talked about this. It's about your values and it's about where do you get your sense of self-worth. Once you kind of actually make that list, and maybe it's, conscious or not conscious, but it's like, where does work fall in the list of things that are super, super important to me? Well, obviously it's not more important than my family. It's obviously not more important than me taking care of myself. Like, where does it fall? And then you have the people within that org where you're like you said, yeah, that's person in operations that I'm never going to talk to again. If they think my email is too slow, I don't care if they think that. Like, it doesn't matter. Do they sign my paycheck? No.
And even if they did, they're not going to remember this one email exchange like I am. Like, they're not thinking about me the way I'm thinking about me.
It's about being selective about where you put your energy and what you get back in that reciprocity. So if it's something that you're not getting anything back from, it can go way down on the list.
Yeah. So I think for me, the biggest thing is for me to just consciously slow down. Like, okay, everything else is urgent. I'm pretending it's urgent for whatever reason. I'm going to take the breath. I'm going to slow down. And there are a couple of things that have helped with that. So I mentioned specifically Slack messages. This is not the only thing that has created false senses of urgency in me, but it is emails and Slacks are probably the number one, at least at work for sure. And what I've done is created like my internal code of response times. I think our organization even has one that is like, here's what we expect from an organization. You should respond to Slacks within this amount of time. You should respond to emails within this amount of time. We want to see you respond to. So anyway, there's something like that. But for me, for Slack messages, it's at least one business day. That means I have until tomorrow at this exact time to actually respond to that chat. Like that, it's going to be okay as long as I get back to it within one business day.
Yeah, I think that's a great strategy. And I've done that for many years and not really with like very strict timelines on it. I just make people wait.
Just make them wait. Well, and there are a couple reasons that it's a good strategy, right? Like one of them is I slow the freak down. The other is they might have to figure it out
Listen, if anyone who has raised children or is raising children knows this technique, and I would say anyone who's been married to a man also knows this technique. It just happened to me last night. Asher's like, "Where's the pasta sauce?" And I'm like, "It's in the fridge. I don't know exactly where, but I know it's in there. Just keep looking."
Keep looking.
If I don't jump up and solve the problem for him, he's going to find the pasta sauce, just like so-and-so at work is going to find the file if they go into Google Drive and search for themselves.
Yes. If it is so urgent that they need it right that second,
They'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out. They'll get creative.
Or they won't. I don't know.
Or they won't. And whatever happens will happen. And it'll probably be fine. I say this recognizing that nothing in my job is that important because I don't do like brain surgery or I'm not an ER doctor or like something that like actually is urgent. But like it's usually fine. And I think I don't mean to be like, don't respond, don't be responsive or whatever. You still want to be reliable. You still want to do good work. I trust you guys to know the difference between when something is actually important and when it's not. But
I mean, context always matters. And like, I sort of I had that 24-hour rule, except that I had team in Europe. And so if I waited a full 24 hours, that meant that they were going to go through a whole work day without getting the answer. So I would try to answer for them. I would prioritize because I didn't want them to have to go a whole nother work day without the answer that they needed. If it was urgent enough.
Yeah, and I rarely take the full business day. I usually just get to it in the afternoon or like another time. It's just like I'm one of those people who if I'm in a deep like workflow state and I come out to just answer a Slack, it is so hard for me to get back into that. So I just need to wait and come back like when I'm more naturally out of that state and I can respond.
With intention, checking your Slack. This is the time that I answer Slacks. Like in today's world, we just get bombarded with communications. And it's not just work, right? And we're talking about Slacks and emails, but there's also text messages, there's Facebook messages, there's Instagram messages, there's WhatsApp messages, there's Marco Polos from your sister, there's LinkedIn messages, there's your dad calling. So there's always going to be people wanting our attention and wanting things from us. And they don't know what else is on our plate. They're not trying to make things hard for us or urgent for us. So that's why we have to take that responsibility and put those guardrails in place to protect our own time and energy because no one else is going to do it for you.
Yeah. And so that kind of reminds me of the next one I was going to say is like, and this goes back to our people pleasing tendencies and everybody wants our attention. Something else that I have found helpful is like retraining my default response. I'm really good at saying, yep, absolutely, I can do that for you. Yeah, I'll get right on it. And because I just say I will do it, I have now created a false sense of urgency in myself because I didn't even give myself a timeline or a deadline or a due date or anything. And so in my mind, it's like, well, if it doesn't have a timeline, it's just as soon as I can get to it. And that's not fair to me. And it's also not fair to the person that I said that I would do it for. So instead of being like, yep, sure, on it, heard chef, sir, yes, sir. I try to also say, I will look at that first thing in the morning and get back to you with a timeline on what we can expect there. Like, I am so happy to help with that project. Love it. Thanks for asking me. I will prioritize this first thing next week. And just giving myself a minute, not even to give the timeline on when it's going to be due, but to like give myself some space to chew on what I'm actually being asked to do and if I'm going to commit to it.
Right. And what are the downstream impacts of me doing that thing and what's it actually going to take? Because I think a lot of
times it's always more complicated than I think it's going to be. So I need a minute.
It's always going to be more complicated than I think it's going to be. And what is actually my responsibility, what is my actual piece? And when you give yourself time to think that through, then you don't end up doing work for other people. You can ask them for the things that you need to complete your part. Okay, I can do that. No problem. I can have it for you next week. I'm going to need this, this, and this before I can get started. Instead of when you haven't thought about it and then you're scrambling to do it and then you realize that you still need things and then now you're 3 days past the time that you thought you were going to be able to give it to them because it's always more complicated than you think.
Always more complicated. And then you're embarrassed and then you're like avoiding the thing because you like don't want to not deliver like you said that you were going to. And then it takes even a week longer than that. And you know what? Even after all that delay and self-doubt, it still wasn't actually needed until 2 weeks after that time period. So give yourself some time and save your energy of stressing of all of that stuff on the front end. And that's the other thing that I think about like changing your default response is like you can also follow up, like get curious. When do you actually need this? When is the presentation that you're preparing for that you need these items for? I did have one more note on that, and this might be a good segue into our next section of like how we deal with other people. It's don't pick up a problem that's not yours, which is maybe not false urgency, but can create a sense of false urgency. Early in my leadership journey, I read this article about not taking the monkey. I don't even know what article it is. It is really old and is really lame, but the mental image of monkeys has been very impactful, and I use it every day, even still, 12 years later. But the idea is when someone comes to you and says, here's a monkey, don't just like volunteer to take that monkey from them and then you have to babysit a monkey. Now, what we mean is like if someone comes to you with a problem, don't just grab it from them. So again, I'm going to use Slack as an example or an email as an example. Someone says, hey, Kara, I noticed that there's something wrong with the learning management system. It's like, okay, now learning management system, that is in my realm of control. But what I'm not going to do is say, okay, I'll look right into it. I will find exactly what that problem is. But I'm going to do what I can to get them to solve the problem first before I pick it up. Okay, did you try this? I actually documented the process on how to do that. You try not to take more of the problem than is your share of the problem.
Yeah, maybe the monkey just wants a banana. Just give, maybe that's all. I know you can take care of that monkey. Like you're so good at it.
You're gonna be so good at it.
You could take that monkey and it would be like perfectly behaved and doing tricks and making money on the street, doing all these things that you've taught it because you are so good at taking that monkey, but it's not your monkey and that's none of your business. So
and not your problem. Like don't make it your problem.
Leave the monkey with somebody else. Leave the monkey with the person who picked it up. It's not your monkey.
Oh my gosh, funny story. We did that, but it wasn't a monkey, it was a hamster. And I did not pick it up even though it was there and I did not like it. Anyway.
Fine. That's fine. It's fine. All right. Okay. So now we have done our work and we are so calm and collected and you have come to the other side of the world where you're Gen Z and your default answer is never yes. It's always no. And you have to convince me to change my mind. That's not true,
but hey,
I mean, it works. If you just think no first, it helps. What happens when it feels like everyone else around you has not done that and everything is urgent and on fire and the whole organization is going to come collapsing down if Kara doesn't figure out that one thing that's happening in the LMS. That will be the end of the whole company. You will never be able to help another child ever again.
The way that some people feel about these things, though, it feels like that. It's just like, first of all, guys, it's not that serious. It's not that deep.
And it never will be. And I don't know. I mean, I was married to a neurologist and he worked in the ER and people would come in mid-stroke. Then it's urgent. Nothing in digital marketing is urgent. I would say this all the time at work. I would say it to clients. I would say it to my coworkers. This is all made up internet stuff. None of this even is real. Like, who cares if your underwear comes up first in Google search? Like, I get like it matters, but like it's not.
It's a nice to have.
Calm down, everybody. Calm down.
Calm down. So, I mean, first you could say that, I suppose, but sometimes that's not appropriate. For a couple of reasons. And so there are a couple of things we can do. And I think one of them is to stay centered ourselves. Like just because everybody else is treating like everything is on fire, like don't sacrifice your peace and your wherever you are. And that comes back to boundaries and energies. Like do your best to stay true and oriented to yourself. That's probably a good place to start. But I also have a couple of little tactics. My first one is coming from the book Cal Newport wrote called Slow Productivity, The Lost Art of Accomplishment Without Burnout here. He has a whole chapter on how to do less work. Anyway, it's the whole point of the book. But something that he talks about is working slower. Take longer to do the work. We've talked about how boundaries teach other people how to treat us. Part of our false urgency on their end happens because we are so good and so smart and so capable, and we do respond quickly, and we do know a lot of things, and we do have that right at the top of our heads, and we do know exactly where it is, and we can find it super fast. Just take longer. Like, if someone asks you how long it's going to take, tell them it's going to take twice as long as you think it's going to. Like, just slow yourself down.
Yeah. And I think that one person can really have an impact on those workflows to the point where it's like, it's not that you're trying to sabotage it or that you're trying to underperform on purpose. It's more like, How can we be thoughtful about this and take the time and ask the questions and really get down to what is important? I have seen so many times where, oh, it's so urgent, it's so urgent. And that's just one person's interpretation where we were all in the meeting together. And one person is like, well, we need to have this to them tomorrow. And I was like, that is not what we told them. That is not a thing that is real. That is in your brain. Let's slow down. This will take me 3 days. Okay. And then this part will take them 3 days. Like, we just need a beat. It's not like that internal urgency. Just
take a minute to think through that. And so you can communicate a realistic expectation. And then you're not hurrying to the finish line that you find out later is just arbitrary anyway.
It never mattered to begin with. And I would coach my teams on this with clients, because everyone thinks that the client is always right and you don't want to disappoint the client and you should give them everything that they've ever wanted, which is never my philosophy in client services, but apparently this is the going trend. If you tell them what they want to hear and then you can't deliver on that timeline, that is so much more disappointing than if you have set appropriate expectations. And you could also say, I actually need to get back with the team on this. And we do this not just with clients, but this was the biggest experience of mine. And you don't always want to tell your boss what you actually think it's going to take you because he wants it tomorrow. And so you say, yeah, I can do it tomorrow, but you lied because you can't. And so I think in any of those situations, it's okay to say, let me look at my calendar. Let me look at what other things I need to get done. And I'll get back to you on when I can get that into the workflow or when I can turn that back around to you. Like, again, we're just creating space and time to give ourselves a moment to really think through all the things that are happening.
Cal Newport talks about that too, is like clients, in this case, I work with lots of internal clients, but a similar mindset is people don't necessarily need the deliverable right away, but they do want to know what to expect. And I think it is more honest and more fair to both parties if you take time and find a realistic timeline and deliver that and say, I've got this, and this on my plate right now, but beginning of April, that can be my number one priority. And at that point, I think it will take me about 3 weeks. So you could expect the delivery by the beginning of May. Like, walking through that and actually giving them what to expect often actually satisfies what that person needs. They just need it off their mind. They need to know that it's in a place that it's being taken care of. You can sorry. I'm going to beat the monkey analogy too. Like, you can put the monkey in a cage for a minute, or you could put it in daycare or something. Like it could be put somewhere. It just needs to be put somewhere. Like, just don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't have to take it, but they also don't want to hold it. So, like, put it somewhere.
We're just going to put it in cryogenic freeze. You know, it's funny when you keep talking about monkeys. This is so off topic. When you keep talking about monkeys, what visual comes into my mind is the barrel of monkeys that you like pull out the one monkey and they're all like hooked together.
That's funny.
So maybe there's something there about how if you like take one monkey, then there's all these other monkeys that come with it.
If you give a mouse a cookie, but like if you take that person's monkey,
then they're going to give you all the monkeys. See, it's a slippery slope with the monkeys, guys.
It is a slippery slope. I picture Abu from Aladdin, but after he's been turned into
the toy,
like toy version. That's what I picture of the monkey. It can't do anything for itself. It just needs to be wound. Anyway, I like that.
The other one I picture is the Wild Boys episode where they have a monkey in the hotel room and it's just trashing the whole hotel room.
Okay, so we don't want to leave the monkey unsupervised
no,
in a
he
hotel
has to
room.
be frozen.
That's not the one we want to do.
Put into a frozen state like Austin Powers.
Okay, so I just want to call back to what you were saying about how like one person can actually have a pretty big impact on how like the general workflow of a team. And I just want to add, like, I really think that's real. Like, you're not going to change everything for the whole organization overnight, but you can have a really big impact on the people you work most closely with, and you can have a really big impact on your direct team and changing the culture and energy of your team by being that steady. Like, my team knows. You can see right here, I've got this thing. I have a team member who embroidered this for me years ago. It says, what problem are we trying to solve? Because every time he came to me with something, I'd be like, okay, but hold on, what problem are we trying to solve? And then I would like jump into helping him talk through it. And my team at work now knows that. Like, I will always ask a question before I commit to something, and it is now just kind of expectations on our team that we ask those questions.
I have many questions. Who What? Where?
So you said they need this. Who is they? Okay.
What did you actually say to the client already that I'm going to have to like do damage control on?
And what did that person so that person said it. Okay, what exactly did they say? Okay. And why is that important right now? And what does that timeline look like? Okay. And did you know that this thing is also happening at the same time? Okay. So I know this person's involved in all of those things. So do they actually need it by then, or are they actually not going to even look at it for 6 more weeks? Okay. Can we go back and clarify? Thank you. Okay, great. Thanks. Good meeting, everybody.
Hey, bye.
And that's what it looks like to be in a meeting with Kara. Sorry, you guys just
She's a lot more helpful than I am. I'm just like, no, I won't do that. No, that's not true. So the other last thing that I just kind of wanted to tag on, I think we've covered everything else.
Yeah, I think
is how to avoid being the person that's creating the false urgency, or who thinks that they're not, or that they've solved this problem, but their actions are not aligning with the words that they say. I have worked with many people who have said things with their mouths like, this isn't brain surgery. This isn't really urgent. The team is important. The team culture is important. We just need to take our time and do good work. But then their actions are in direct opposition to that. Where's this thing? When am I going to see it? Repeated messages about the thing. Okay, you're saying these things, but you don't mean them because your actions are doing something else. So I'm not sure what the solve is for that besides just not doing that. Like,
just don't do that. No, I think that's a great point, because we want to be the person that is like, guys, this is not urgent, but that doesn't always translate to how we respond. I think something that has helped me in this is like, I get really excited about an idea and I will hyperfixate. So it becomes urgent to me because that's just where my energy and my mind and my brain is at that moment. And so recognizing that in myself of like, is this urgent or am I just excited about this right now? And prefacing that when I go to ask someone like, hey, I'm really excited about this. It is not urgent, but if you want to be excited about something with me for a minute, let's jump in. I don't know how long this enthusiasm is going to last.
I have personally experienced this workflow with Kara many, many times over the last couple of years as we have done this podcast.
What? I'm blushing because I feel seen right now. But okay.
But it's true. And also, I think I have done a good job of not internalizing those things, because sometimes it just comes and you're like, oh, I need to work on that too because Kara's excited and we're going to work on this. And I need to do the things that I said I need to do them right now because she's working on it. And it's just like, whoa, no, that's not her expectation. That's not how I want to be. That's not what we're doing. But also Kara backs that up with real action that doesn't make me think that she needs it right now or that she's putting that pressure on me. So I think that there's that give and take, and also just your actions matching your words.
Like, we've had this like rule of thumb this whole time that we've done this, and all these things is like, we're not trying to force it. We're going to try to work at our natural pace. And like, we've given each other permission to remind each other of that as well. And I wonder if that's something you can do with your team members or your reports or your coworkers or whoever. Like, you can also go back to that, like, hey, this is something I want to be held accountable to. Like, feel free to use these phrases. Or giving ourselves like language to speak to, because I feel like that's something you and I go back to a lot. It's like, we're not forcing it. And did you do the thing you said you were gonna do?
It's true. It's true. And I do think that that's part. I like your strategy about saying this is just something that I'm excited about. And sometimes you just need to know, I just need an update. And I would say that to my team all the time. Like, I know that it's not due till this day. I just need to give so-and-so an update. Can you let me know how it's going? Are we still on track to hit that deadline? Like, I don't need it today. And I don't want to put pressure on you to have it today. The regular due date still stands. I just need a status update.
Yep.
Instead of like, where's the thing? How's it going? And they're like, oh my gosh, I'm late. No, you're not late. I need to give an update. People need to know what's going on.
Well, so this is not what I was expecting to be my takeaway from this episode, but I think some of this is like psychological safety and feeling like you're comfortable to push back a little bit, or creating that space for people to push back a little bit, which allows for a little bit more honesty. And then you actually can deliver better and more accurately, because you don't have someone on the other end who's like scared that if they say, I can't do this by the end of the week, that for some reason they're in trouble. And then you're put in a weird spot as like the client services manager, that you've accidentally overpromised to the client because the person said they could do it, and then they're in a weird place. Like, I feel like there's like a space of safety that allows for more honesty.
Well, I think culture of false urgency in an organization is a contributor to a toxic workplace, which means that you're not feeling psychologically safe. And sometimes we can't do anything about the greater culture of the organization that we're in, and we can't fix this greater sense of urgency. And honestly, that happened a lot at my last organization and I couldn't fix it. And it was making me crazy. So sometimes we have to create that in ourselves, like we talked about at the beginning of the episode. And there's not a lot we can do around the org, but we can work on ourselves to not get triggered by what's going on, to not take on other people's monkeys. And if they don't like that,
then that gives us some information to make decisions about our future at the organization.
But I would say, though, I don't know, I did that a lot at my last org. And even though I couldn't really fix it on a broader scale, as I was leaving, a lot of people told me that they appreciated that about me, that I was a place where they felt like I was talking sense into them about what was actually important and what was a hurry and what was a rush and what wasn't.
Yeah. 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 There's always going to be the limits of our circle of control. But as you and I have talked quite a bit about, like, our circle of control is probably actually bigger than we think it is. And that expands the circle of influence. And yeah, maybe we're not going to fix the whole 250 person organization or whatever, but the people you interact with most directly, you're going to have a pretty big impact on them. So doesn't mean that it's your job to be that person for them all the time, but it does go a long way. So,
well, and even just being that example and being able to see it in other people in your org, then you're like, well, if Kara does it, then I can do it.
I can probably do it. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome.
All right. So takeaways from today is it's not that important, whatever it is. You're not that important, and whatever your boss is not that important. No, okay. No, it's all good. It's all good, well, guys.
I mean, it all comes down to protecting your peace, right? And like how much you're giving away at work. And when we are just running from fire to fire to fire, when they aren't actually fires, it's pointless.
It's a recipe for burnout, especially if they're not actually fires. So don't do that. All
go.
Right. That's everything I have today.
All right. Well, here, the lesson today is that all urgency is fake.
So thank you.
Unless you work in a hospital, maybe, or are an actual, legitimate, real firefighter.
Like an actual firefighter.
Who's actually putting out fires.
What's the quote from Incredibles? If everybody's special, nobody is. Like, if everything's urgent, nothing is. So
quit it.
Quit it.
And take your time in the shower.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. You just dropped that bomb at the end. I can't even tell you how many showers I took that I was like, I have to hurry. The baby's crying. No, the baby wasn't crying. The baby was fine. Like, it's fine.
The baby's fine. They didn't even
Also,
notice.
the baby has a dad. Like, it's fine. Okay.
All right. Until next time.
Until next time.